The WNBA?
Yes. I mean, I think the share isn't the right way to look at it because there's so much more revenue in the NBA. I think you should look at it in absolute numbers in terms of what they're making, and they are going to get a big increase in this.
2 minutes ago, the basketball world exploded. NBA Commissioner Adam Silver just went on national television and said the words, every WNBA
from him, right? Maybe you heard something different. Maybe you feel like it's something else he's saying here. Let me know in the comment section, man. I love y'all. Y'all keep
fan has been waiting to hear for decades. He didn't dance around it. He didn't sugarcoat it. He looked straight into the camera on NBC's Today Show and declared that WNBA players are about to receive.
Are we seeing the end of the dynasty, Commissioner Silver, and is that good for the game?
Well, we'll see if it's the end of the dynasty. What we set out to do was
massive salary increase, not a modest bump, not a minor adjustment, a big increase. His words, not mine. And when Rebecca Lobo, the WNBA legend who's
Rebecca Lobo included, which we'll get to her video in a minute, they failed to acknowledge one simple fact.
Seen it all, heard about this bombshell announcement. Her reaction sent shockwaves through the entire women's basketball community. But here's the thing that nobody's talking about.
So many teams rely so much on the three-pointer. Has that changed the game in a dramatic way? And if so, is that good for the game?
Yet, the thing that's about to change everything. This isn't just about money. This is about Caitlin Clark's future, about the next generation of superstars, and about whether women's basketball finally gets the respect it deserves. Because right now, as you're watching this, the clock is ticking on a deadline that could...
0.5. Wherever they are in that particular monetary value. Now, the only issue...
make or break the WNBA forever. Stay with me, because what I'm about to reveal will blow your mind. Let's rewind for a second and talk about the elephant in the room. The salary situation in the WNBA isn't just bad, it's embarrassing. We're talking about a league with a maximum salary...
shot to shoot a mid-range two-point shot as opposed to that three-point shot. You know, we've talked a lot about it at the league. I think once we got into the playoffs last year, nobody said they were missing the
absolute highest amount a player can earn is $249,000. Now, I know what you're thinking. That sounds like a lot of money, right? But hold on. Let me put this in perspective for you. Caitlin Clark, the most electrifying player to enter the WNBA in years. The woman who single-handedly...
Slick talk by Adam Silver, but it didn't necessarily get past the WNBPA. Check this out, man. Latest IG story from the WNBPA on NBA committee.
Doubled television ratings and sold out arenas across the country. Made more money in college through nil deals than she's making now as a professional. Think about that. A college athlete was earning more than a professional superstar. The rookie minimum in the WNBA is $66.
The Today Show, and of course the NBA starts today. All right, and he gets at
$1,000. $66,000. That's what you pay someone to chase their dreams at the highest level of women's basketball. Meanwhile, backup players in the NBA, guys who barely see the court, are pulling in millions. The disparity isn't just unfair.
A 2026 season. Because the women do not want to budge, fam. And it's like they want to maneuver like the NBA, but you have to remember that.
It's insulting. And this is why players like Caitlin Clark and so many others have to fly halfway around the world during the off-season, playing in foreign leagues just to make ends meet. They're exhausted. They're risking injury. They're spending months away from their families. All because the league they dedicate their lives to doesn't pay them enough.
It's not really. It is television money, always. That's why the NFL is king.
To survive on a single salary. But here's where it gets really interesting. Caitlin's rookie season wasn't just successful, it was historic. Attendance surged by 48%. Merchandise sales went through the roof. Her jersey became the fastest-selling WNBA jersey of all time. She brought eyes to the league that had never watched women's...
Deserve it.
Commissioner Adam Silver, best of luck.
Thank you, Craig.
And by the way, welcome home. Welcome home.
Yeah, thrilled to be here.
I hope you stick around for Round Ball Rock later.
Of course.
Basketball before. Sponsors came running. Nike, Gatorade, State Farm. Everyone wanted a piece of the Caitlin Clark phenomenon. She was generating millions, maybe tens of millions, in revenue for the WNBA. And what was she getting paid? A rookie salary that wouldn't even cover rent in most major cities. The math wasn't matching, and fans were furious. Then, on Tuesday morning, everything changed. Adam Silver walked onto the set of NBC's Today Show, and he dropped a bomb that nobody saw coming. When asked about WNBA salaries, he didn't dodge the question. He didn't deflect. He looked straight ahead and said, quote, "They're going to get a big increase. They deserve it." Let me say that again. The NBA commissioner, the man who oversees the most profitable basketball league in the world, just publicly admitted that WNBA players deserve more money. This isn't some vague promise or political lip service. This is Adam Silver, one of the most powerful figures in sports, putting his credibility on the line and saying out loud what everyone's been thinking. The women deserve more. But here's the catch, and this is where it gets complicated. Silver also said something else that raised a few eyebrows. He argued that revenue share, the percentage of league income that goes to players, isn't the right way to look at it. He said we should focus on absolute salary numbers instead. Now, why would he say that? Because right now, WNBA players receive 9.3% of league-generated income. 9%. Compare that to NBA players who get roughly 50%, a true 50-50 split of basketball-related income. If the WNBA adopted that same model, salaries would skyrocket overnight. But Silver's pushing back on that idea, and it's creating tension. The current collective bargaining agreement, the contract that dictates how much players get paid, expires on October 31st, 2025. That's less than 6 months away. And if a new deal isn't reached by then, the league could face a work stoppage, a lockout, or worse. The stakes have never been higher. Both sides know it. The players know it. The league knows it. And Adam Silver just threw gasoline on the fire by publicly committing to a big increase without defining what that actually means. Is it a 50% raise? 100%? Are we talking about doubling salaries or tripling them? Nobody knows yet, and that uncertainty is driving everyone crazy. But while the sports world was still processing Adam Silver's bombshell, another voice entered the conversation. Rebecca Lobo, WNBA icon, Olympic gold medalist, and someone who's been fighting for women's basketball since before most of Caitlin Clark's fans were even born. Lobo has seen every chapter of this story. She was there in the late 90s when the WNBA was just getting started, when players were negotiating for basic things like year-round health insurance and a 401k retirement plan. Back then, the fight wasn't about getting rich. It was about getting basic human dignity. It was about being treated like professional athletes instead of part-time workers. And now, nearly 3 decades later, the conversation has completely shifted. When Rebecca Lobo heard about Adam Silver's comments, she didn't hold back. She said she's confident the deal will get done this winter. But more importantly, she laid out exactly what's at stake. Lobo made it clear that the days of rookies making $75,000 are over. Done. Finished. Gone. The days of max contracts being $225,000 for the best, most veteran players in the league? Those days are behind us. This is the moment Rebecca Lobo has been waiting for her entire career. She's watched generations of women fight for scraps while the men's game exploded into a multi-billion-dollar empire. She's seen incredible talent leave the league because they couldn't afford to stay. She's watched players suffer injuries overseas because they had no choice but to chase bigger paychecks abroad. And now, finally, she's seen the light at the end of the tunnel. But Lobo's also realistic. She knows negotiations are going to be contentious. She knows the league is going to push back. She knows there's a long road ahead. But for the first time in WNBA history, both sides seem to agree on one fundamental truth. The current system is broken, and something has to change. Now, let's talk about why this matters so much for Caitlin Clark. Right now, she's locked into a rookie contract. She's making nowhere near what she's worth. But her next contract negotiation is going to happen under this new CBA, under the new rules that are being hammered out right now in boardrooms and conference calls across the country. If the players get what they're asking for, if Rebecca Lobo's optimism is justified, Caitlin Clark could become the first WNBA player to earn over $1 million annually from her salary alone. Not from endorsements, not from overseas contracts, from her WNBA paycheck. That would be revolutionary. That would change the entire landscape of women's professional sports. Because if Caitlin Clark can make a legitimate living playing basketball in America, if she doesn't have to fly to Turkey or Russia or China during the off-season just to survive, then suddenly the WNBA becomes a viable career option for the next generation of female athletes. Suddenly, high school girls looking at their futures don't have to choose between basketball and financial security. They can have both. And let's be real about the Caitlin Clark effect. This isn't hype. This isn't media exaggeration. The numbers don't lie. The most watched WNBA games in history featured Caitlin Clark. Her jersey broke sales records within weeks of her debut. League viewership doubled in markets where she played. Arenas that used to be half empty were suddenly sold out. Streaming numbers went through the roof. Corporate sponsors who never gave the WNBA a second glance were suddenly lining up with checkbooks in hand. She brought a level of mainstream attention to women's basketball that the league had been chasing for decades. And yet, she's still making a fraction of what her male counterparts earn. You can't sell out arenas, break streaming records, shatter merchandise sales, and then turn around and pay your star players poverty wages. It doesn't work. The business case is right there in black and white. The WNBA is more profitable than ever, and the players who made that happen deserve their share. So what's really at stake in these negotiations? Everything. The players want a 50-50 revenue split, just like the NBA. They want to be treated as equal partners in the business they're building. The league argues that the WNBA operates on a different business model, that the economics aren't the same, that comparing the two leagues isn't fair. And to some extent, they have a point. The NBA has been around for over 70 years. The WNBA is still in its 20s. The revenue streams are different. The media deals are different. The infrastructure is different. But here's the counterargument that's impossible to ignore. The WNBA is growing faster than anyone predicted. Revenue is up over 40% since Caitlin Clark entered the league. Television ratings are spiking. Corporate sponsorships are flooding in. The league isn't struggling anymore. It's thriving. And the players who made that growth possible are still being paid like it's 1997. The timeline adds another layer of pressure. October 31st, 2025. That's the expiration date on the current CBA. If a new deal isn't in place by then, everything stops. Players could strike. The league could lock them out. The entire season could be in jeopardy. Both sides know that a work stoppage would be devastating. It would kill momentum. It would alienate fans. It would give critics ammunition to say women's sports can't sustain themselves. Nobody wants that outcome. But here's the thing about negotiations. Both sides have to be willing to walk away, or there's no leverage. The players are more unified than ever before. They've seen what happened with Caitlin Clark. They've seen the proof that women's basketball can be a mainstream phenomenon. They're not backing down this time, and the league knows it. So what does the future actually look like? If we're being realistic, if we're taking Rebecca Lobo's confidence and Adam Silver's public commitment seriously, here's what we're probably looking at. Rookie minimum salaries jumping to somewhere between $150,000 and $200,000. That would be a game changer right there. Max contracts climbing into the $500,000 to $750,000 range for star players, and a potential supermax category for MVPs and generational talents like Caitlin Clark pushing into the $1 million territory. These aren't wild fantasies. These are realistic projections based on where the league's revenue is trending. And if those numbers become reality, everything changes. Players won't need to go overseas. They can focus year-round on improving their game, on building the WNBA brand, on connecting with fans. The league attracts even more elite talent because suddenly it's financially viable to play professional basketball in America. The product on the court gets better. The fan experience improves. Sponsors invest even more money. It becomes a virtuous cycle where everyone benefits. And at the center of it all is Caitlin Clark. In 2 or 3 years, She could be earning NBA comparable endorsement deals on top of a legitimate WNBA salary that reflects her actual value. She could be the face of a league that finally pays its players what they're worth. She could be the symbol of a revolution that changes women's sports forever. This is her generation's moment. Rebecca Lobo fought for health insurance. Caitlin Clark's generation is fighting for respect. From $66,000 to potentially $1 million. This isn't just a raise. This is a revolution. And it's happening right now, in real time, while the world watches. So here's the question that matters. Do WNBA players deserve a 50-50 revenue split like their male counterparts? Should Caitlin Clark be making millions from her WNBA salary alone? The conversation is happening whether the league likes it or not. Adam Silver opened the door. Rebecca Lobo walked through it. And Caitlin Clark is leading an entire generation toward a future where women's basketball players are finally valued the way they should have been all along. This is history in the making. The CBA negotiations will determine the trajectory of the WNBA for the next decade. And one thing is crystal clear. The old way of doing business is over. The revolution has begun, and nobody's turning back now.